what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. We're back here at the original parking lot location because I love this type of Florida forest scenery. What do we got for you though? This is the one you've been looking for. This is a 2022 Ford Maverick, but guess what? This is the hybrid version of this compact truck. But before we get into this small size front wheel drive pickup truck, let's talk about what's going on here. Ford. They've been known for making trucks for many years. Everybody knows the F-150. Everybody knows the Ranger, but guess what? Ford has come out with a totally new truck called the Maverick. Now, what's interesting is that the class of truck that the Maverick lives in is nothing new. It's called the compact truck. And once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, that's what trucks used to be, compact and full size. There were no mid-size trucks. But now all those compact trucks over the years have grown up, including the Ranger, to fill in that mid-size gap. It now has opened up the door for the return of the compact truck. What's fascinating is that the Maverick name actually has been used before by Ford. It went on an actual car, the Ford Maverick, which was a compact car built from about 1970 all the way to the mid-1970s. What's interesting is that the Mustang, the Ford Mustang, almost was called the Ford Maverick, but Lee Iacocca stopped that from happening. But anyways, that's enough of the history lesson. What I want to do is I want to find out, is this Maverick, which is so hard to find at dealerships, is this the best new truck to buy? And then another thing I want to do is I want to compare it. And it's going to sound weird, but listen to what I want to compare it to. I want to compare this Ford Maverick to a Honda Civic hatchback. It's going to be interesting. You're probably scratching your head. What are we talking about? But let's go ahead. Let's dive in to this fire red Maverick and find out. Right off the bat, the style. I dig the Maverick because you know what? It's not trying to pretend to be anything else other than a truck. Starting at the front of the business, they did a great job with the headlight style. Now you'll see on our XLT trim, which remember is the mid trim. You got three ways to go with your Maverick. On the XLT, you're getting full LED headlights. We got our LED daytime running lamps. You got the old school light bulbs for the turn signals though. So it would have been nice for them to do full LED, but you have your three trims. You got your XL, XLT, and of course, Lariat. We got some of that nice optional color, gives it a perfect sparkle in the Florida sun. And then on the lower end, you do have flat black. I don't mind this so much. I wish they would have put maybe some fog lamps down here. Did something a little bit different than just doing some diagonal lines. But the great news is it's not meant to look like a vent or anything like that. Now, when we come across the front grille, it looks clean, it looks smart, and it looks like a Ford truck. You got your dark gunmetal gray finish in the center, of course, the blue oval, and then you're gonna have full functionality with your flat black. Now, the competitor, the main competitor to this truck, of course, is the Santa Cruz from Hyundai. The Santa Cruz looks more like a Tucson El Camino, a Tucson with a bed. Like I said, this looks more like a truck. Full functionality in the center. The base engine, believe it or not, is hybrid. Now, when you're comparing this to a Honda Civic, obviously the body lines are totally different. A little bit more bold on the Maverick, a little bit more substantial, but wait until we talk about MPGs at the end of the day, and of course, the price. But let's go ahead, pop up onto the hood. Another great job by Ford. It looks like a hood off of an F-150. You got nice clean indentations. Everything flows super clean to the A-pillars. And they got the right folds and bends exactly where it should be. Now, when we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. These are gonna be the wheels on your XLT. So the nice thing is 17-inch wheel. You got that metallic carbonized gray color. I like the way that they did black center caps instead of the blue ones that you normally see on most Ford products. Front wheel drive. And if you're wondering, 225 on the width and a meaty 65 series sidewall. Now, if you don't want front wheel drive and you don't want a hybrid, you can option this with an EcoBoost to that inline-4 turbocharged engine, puts out 250 horsepower. If you have not seen the review to that one, I'll leave it at the end of this review. That gives you all-wheel drive and more power. But one of my favorite things is no flat black around the fender treatment. Everything is all painted, and I think that helps it look a little bit more clean. Now coming down the side, of course, you're gonna have the required side badge, just like on an F-150 or a Ranger XLT. Kind of weird little indentation I could do without that. They could have did something a little bit different, but we got flat black on the mirror caps, and then you'll notice that we have standard size sunroof, and I like from the side of the vehicle, the actual length. This is shorter than a Ranger, obviously shorter than an F-150. And when you look at it, it's gonna bring more versatility than your Honda Civic hatchback, even with all the cargo space that the hatchback has. Now, flat black on your door handles and just a little bit along the bottom. You got that silly key code thing. I really am not into this. First of all, it looks like it's something out of a J.C. Whitney catalog or something you get from AutoZone, but it is kind of nice, I guess, if you're camping or you go kayaking and you don't want to bring your keys in your pocket because you're afraid a dolphin is going to take them from you. You could actually punch in your code and leave your keys locked in the car. Just make sure you remember the code or you're going to be swimming home. But anyways, I guess it's nice to have that. It could have looked a little bit more finished, I guess would be the name of the game. Up top, we have that extended antenna. Not my favorite because it makes it look like an RC car. I wish they would just do a standard shark fin antenna. And then as we come back around, what are we talking about bed? You got a 4.5 foot bed. I kind of like how high the sides are, so you could put some taller things in there without them falling out the side. And then coming towards the rear, they did a clean job, just like they've done with their larger trucks. You got your taillights, they're not LED, so that's a little bit of a zonk. We got our hybrid badge because remember, the standard Maverick is a hybrid, and I like the way that they stamped the Maverick name into the rear tailgate. And then going all the way down, as we back up a little bit, you'll notice something kind of strange. We got the license plate all the way over to the right. Why is it there? Because guess what? You can tow with this Maverick. So you'll remove this panel. That's why the license plate is all the way over to the right. What about bed space? That 4.5 foot bed, the XLT, you're gonna have to lower it lightly because it does not have that self-dropping tailgate. But the great news is they give you some really good usable space. You got your tie downs up front and in the back, and you also have your bed liner, and you got a manual sliding rear glass window. But you know what? Let's go ahead, let's pop the hood and see what's powering our Maverick. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. You do have a prop rod. That kind of makes sense. And so does the Honda Civic and a lot of other trucks. But what do we got? First of all, you're gonna find a nest of wires, tubes, and hoses. This is what a modern engine looks like, especially a hybrid setup without the fancy engine cover. But what are we talking about? We're looking at a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4 paired to 2 electric motors. That's going to produce 191 horsepower. You have a lithium ion battery pack, and the whole thing is mated to a CVT transmission. That to me is going to be the weak link in this powertrain. But what you're looking at, 0 to 60 in about 7.7 seconds, top speed governed to 110 miles per hour. The truck weighs 3,720 pounds, and here comes the big winning numbers. MPGs, miles per gallon in the city, 42 of them per gallon, on the highway, 33. The truck can tow up to 2,000 pounds, which is a far cry from the Hyundai Santa Cruz, and it does have a payload of 1,500 pounds. So interesting to see Ford taking the electrified route with this standard engine setup, definitely getting the MPGs. What I want to do is I want to go in reverse with this truck because you got to hear the pedestrian warning. So let's go ahead, let's fire it up and hear what the warning sounds like. All right, guys, we're inside this 2022 Ford Maverick. This is the one that's extra hard to find because it is the standard hybrid setup. Now, I know what you're saying. Joe, I'm confused. Why are you comparing this to a Honda Civic hatchback? Why aren't you just comparing it to the Hyundai Santa Cruz? or the Honda Ridgeline? The reason why is because of the pricing. And I know you're at that point where you're like, Joe, I like this truck. How much is it? MSRP, and this is where you're going to see the correlation with the Honda Civic, hatchback that is, the MSRP is $26,600. So let's see how it compares to the Civic and what you get for the money to the door panels. Now what's interesting is I hope you're a Florida Gators fan, because the orange with the blue interior is what I'm feeling right now. It is hard plastic. The good news is it's easy to keep clean, but I would like to see some soft materials. What's interesting is that you'll notice there's no gloss black around the switchgear and a very unique door handle with those exposed screws and a little bit of orange trim. The armrest is actually quite soft. And then another thing that's interesting is the back portion of the door panel. That light gray reminds me of like a bathroom Formica setup. The good news is, even though it's a small door panel, you got plenty of room. 2 New York-sized bagels with smears of cream cheese. You can even get everything bagels, and they'll fit, and a bottle of milk to wash it down. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, knock, knock, who's there? Hard plastic, but the good news is it's blue to match the door panels. There's more of that Formica finish that I was telling you about. And then we get to the center stack. You got an 8-inch infotainment system. It is the Sync 3 system, so it does have Apple CarPlay, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but you do have to plug your phone in. It's not wireless. Let's see what you got for your apps here. You could go back to home. It is a touchscreen, obviously. Very easy to use, just very simplistic. Throw it in reverse. There's your backup camera. You do have trajectory, and the resolution is fairly clear. You hit the plus sign, zoom in. You can actually count the amount of ants that are on the ground. There's about 18 of them right there behind our Maverick. And then you zoom back out, put it in a park, and that's where we all started. You do have a little bit of a Twinkie holder up top. And what's nice is on a hot day, it'll actually cook your Twinkie to make it nice and warm. You do also have an area where you could fit, I would say, 4 packs of Kit Kats. And the great news is you could share the Kit Kats with your friend, or you could just stuff them in your face and be a pig. It's up to you. 2 AC vents with the orange trim. That orange is throughout this whole interior. We got our standard controls, blower fan speed, and then we have our temperature gauge over here, USB-C, USB-A, and then we have a party tray down here. Get yourself some nachos, some Doritos, some dip, maybe even, I don't know, some pretzel sticks. Plenty of room down there. 2 cup holders. We got a rotary dial for our CVT transmission. Believe it or not, you do have different modes, which I'll show you more of that when you come to the business end. A place for Mentos, so you can freshen up your breath after eating those Cool Ranch Doritos. And then this area is where you're gonna wanna put a book. Maybe 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, maybe a Time Machine. It's up to you. Tale of Two Cities. Nice high armrest, and it is soft. Open it up. What do you got in there? You could easily put, I would say, 4 baseballs. Maybe one signed by Jose Canseco, Ken Griffey Jr. Maybe you got even a Babe Ruth baseball that you've been saving that your great-great-grandfather gave to you after he won it in a gambling match against Henry Ford. He won that Babe Ruth signed baseball. Seats. They are cloth, but you know what? They actually look good. Some gray, some nice grippiness, and they look like they could wear. I mean, I'm trying to wear the seats out, and they wear really nicely. See the orange stitching? I wish they would have done a little bit more of that throughout the interior, but you do have manual control for the passenger and manual control seats for the driver. But to finish it off, they do give you a standard size sunroof, which is a nice touch. But the best part is I want you to come over here because I want to show you what do you get when you get and buy a hybrid Maverick. Come on over. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. The great news is for a compact truck, lots of room in here. 6 feet tall, plenty of room, especially shoulder room and stuff. Steering wheel, the one thing that's a bummer, and I'm surprised on an XLT trim, it doesn't have leather. It's not a leather wrapped steering wheel. It's that Rubbermaid kind of stuff. So it does feel very rental car-esque with the way that the steering wheel is not only feeling, but also the style of the buttons and the switchgear. It is a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then of course, because this is a hybrid, you do have a power gauge and a charge gauge, As you are driving and braking, you'll notice how it recharges the battery. And in the center there, that small digital display, you can see the different modes. Slippery when wet, that's the Bon Jovi mode. You can hug a tree, eat a leaf, that's eco mode. And then of course, we're gonna go full sport in this setup. And then you got your analog gauges to kind of balance it out. Very interesting to see once we get our hands on a Lariat trim, how that is upgraded. But why don't we go ahead, let's get in the back seat and see what your passengers are gonna be experiencing in this Maverick. All right guys, backseat time. And what's fascinating is that surprisingly, there's plenty of room back here, especially headroom. I did not move the driver's seat, and I just wanted to do that to show you that even with the seat further back, my knees are not making contact with the seat. You do have a pocket on the passenger side. This is where you could keep a photo, your favorite photo of Henry Ford. Maybe it's Henry Ford in a factory, Henry Ford on his yacht, Henry Ford in his mansion. Keep that photo back there. They do give you a 12 volt, so that's a nice plus. You just gotta go to Target or Walmart or something, maybe Amazon, and get yourself a USB-A adapter. And there's a little slot here. It's about the size to be able to slide a silver dollar in there, or a $50, a 50-cent piece with JFK on it. Or like when my grandmother used to go to Atlantic City, anytime she won, she'd give me some Susan B. Anthony silver dollars. You can slide those in there. Like I said, actually kind of comfortable in the back seat. Pull this down, semi-soft. And you know what? If you have dry elbows, you can actually exfoliate it on the cloth armrest. 2 cup holders, and you got a manual sliding rear window, just large enough for a Big Mac. So if you have some friends back there and they're hungry, you could get maybe a Whopper, but you probably have to go Big Mac and just throw it to them in the back of the bed. But you know what? I'm ready to hyper mile this thing and see just how far we could go on a tank of gas. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle in the Maverick. All right, guys, we're behind the wheel of this Ford Maverick Hybrid. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into sport mode, and we are gonna go on throttle, here we go. So, obviously, the Maverick being a front-wheel drive truck, the hybrid version, it gets the power to the ground pretty effectively, but then again, we're only dealing with a little bit more than 190 horsepower. The big plus that I see for this Maverick is obviously going to be the size, the versatility, and in the hybrid form, the great MPGs that this gets. What I like about it is that there's some things that make you feel like you're in a truck in a positive way, like the way the hood is nice and broad, having obviously that 4.5 foot bed that's functional, lots of space in such a shorter bed. But what's awesome is that it does not drive like a truck. There's a lot of people who want the versatility of a pickup truck, but don't want the experience of actually driving a truck. And this Maverick Hybrid really feels like you're driving an SUV or a car in a very good way. Now, getting to everything is well within reach. It's well laid out. It's just that if we're going to compare this to the Honda Civic, especially because of the price point, the Civic outshines it with the fit and finish of the interior and all the appointments. But with that being said, you know, you got your Apple CarPlay, your Android Auto. You got tons of storage in here, which is mind-blowing. And then visibility is amazing, not only out the front, but with the side mirrors perfectly placed. Where this XLT Maverick Hybrid falls short is the instrumentation, very rental car-esque. I wish that XLT, like I pointed out earlier, came with a leather-wrapped steering wheel, but the seats are super supportive and very comfortable, and that's important because of the way you're gonna be able to just churn and burn the miles with this Maverick Hybrid. But let's see how it is merging on the highway. On throttle, here we go. Got it in sport mode. One thing you'll notice as we're getting up to speed onto the highway is that the CVT does not have any pre-programmed shifts to simulate what a conventional torque converter automatic transmission feels like. So when I was on throttle, it just pegs the RPMs. And to me, that kind of kills the whole overall driving sensation and engagement of this particular hybrid. It would have been nice if they would have put the 8-speed automatic. Now, if you don't want this experience and you're not really concerned about MPGs, you could go with the EcoBoost. You got more power and you got all-wheel drive. But very, very smooth. And they actually did a great job with the sound deadening material in here because it's not very loud. Going over the bumps, it sucks and soaks everything right up. And when you're doing your normal driving commute, I think that's where the CVT isn't going to be felt. But when you go on throttle, that's when you know that you're behind the wheel of a vehicle that's made it to a CVT. Easy to understand gauges. Just wish that it was a little bit more digital, especially the power gauge and the recharge gauge. But you can see how when you get on the brakes, how it helps recharge the battery. But I just can't believe just how smooth this Maverick drives. Let's see how we handle in this left-hand bend. Nice and composed. Brakes are good. Getting back out onto the highway, I think that this is gonna be that truck that, like I said, you know, to be able to get that kind of mileage out of a small pickup truck really showcases what Ford is bringing to the table, especially at this price point. When you think about the amount of vehicles that are available for $26,000, it's slim pickings, especially if you need the room. And this really brings it in a very big way, in a very good way. I'm going to be curious to see what it's like to drive the Lariat trim, so stay tuned for that. But going down the highway here, just a very pleasurable driving experience. And I think that's the thing that is even shocking Ford, is just how many people are enjoying this truck and want this truck. I went ahead, I put it into eco mode just so that I could showcase for you how the driving parameters change between sport and eco. There is definitely a difference. And obviously this is where you're gonna get your maximum MPGs out of this hybrid setup in here. Another thing that I love about this truck is just how easy it is to park. So if you're not used to a larger vehicle, it could be cumbersome to park a larger full-size truck, but this, it's gonna fit in your garage perfectly, and it's gonna be able to, you park it in a regular spot. It's so easy, just as easy as a regular compact car, to be honest with you. I think the only thing that's gonna be the biggest letdown is just the towing capacity, not as high as the Santa Cruz, but I think the price point is where this truck is just the hands down winner over the competition, including competition that you didn't even think this vehicle was going up against. Pulling out, you got great throttle sensitivity, and steering is nice and light even when you're in sport mode. So I think that's going to be another thing that a lot of people like, is just how easy it is to drive. And you even get these silly messages that come up on the LED display, a brake coach telling you how much energy was returned back to that lithium ion battery pack. All right, guys, we're gonna go back on throttle here. As soon as the light turns green, on throttle. So I think that you're gonna find that for regular daily driving activities, you got plenty of power. I mean, if you're comparing this to a Honda Civic, at this price point, Honda Civic has around 158 horsepower. So having a little bit more than 190 horsepower, I think kind of bridges that gap nicely. And like I said, if you want more, you could have more with the EcoBoost with 250 horsepower. And supposedly Ford's working on an ST version of this truck. But I really firmly believe that this has to be one of the best new trucks out there available at the price. And what the purpose of this truck is. It's not meant to be something to tow a 40-foot boat. It's meant to be that kind of Swiss Army knife of vehicles and also generate some major MPGs. But we're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. Guys, it's been another great day with this Ford Maverick. Let me know what you think. Has Ford done enough with this hybrid compact truck to be that best new truck to buy? Would you rather go this route with the versatility of having a truck over a Honda Civic hatchback? Let me know in the comment section. But until we meet another day in another parking lot, if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Radies Rides family. We got to give a huge shout out to the man behind the lens, Stephen Flood of Stephen Flood Photography, doing the business. Show him some love in that comment section. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.